Japa गुरुस्मृता अत्रिनेत्र सर्वसाक्षी अचतुर्बाहुरच्युता अचतुर्वदनो ब्रह्मा श्रीगुरुकार्तिकाप्रिये अयम् अयञ्जलिर्बाधो दायसगारवृद्धये यदनुगातो जन्तु विप्रसंसारमुक्तिवा श्रीगुरो परमं रूपं मन्दभाग्यान पश्यन्ति अन्धसूर्योदयं यथा निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यगौरं चिदानन्दं गुरुब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम् बुद्धं बुद्धे कालिकामार्य संस्थे सिंहासने संस्थितमूर्ति ध्यायेत् गुरुं चन्द्रकलाप्रकाशं चित्पुस्तकभीष्टवरं धरणम् श्वेताम्बरं श्वेतविलेपपुष्पं मुक्ताविभूषं मुनिचन्द्रिनेत्रम् मन्दस्मितं समृद्धिपादिरानाम् आनन्दमानन्दकरं प्रसन्नं ज्ञानस्वरूपमिचघोरयुक्तं योगीन्द्रं विद्यां भवरोगवैद्यं श्रीमद्गुरुं नित्यमां नमामि तस्मै सुश्रीसुतिध्वंसं निग्रहनिर्वाहकं नित्यमञ्चविनं शाश्वतं भासते तं नमाम्यहम् भक्तशिरसिषुभक्ते विनयं विभुतं गुरुं परमयायितं शान्तं स्मरेतं नाम पूर्वकम् नगरोररिकं 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 शिरशासनका शिरशासनका यत्र तत्र दिवानि स्वाहा एवं विदो महामुक्ता सर्वरावर्तते पुनः तस्य सर्वभयनेन भागवतं करोति यः सर्वसन्देहरहितो मुक्तो भवति पार्वती बुद्धिमुक्तिद्वयं तस्य जीवभेदा सरस्वती अनिराकरिणा सर्वे गुरुगीता जपेन कुरु सर्वसेवेन्द्रा भ्रुवन्ति मुक्तिमुक्तिं न संशयात् सत्यं सत्यं पुनः सत्यं धर्मं सत्यं मयोनितात् गुरुगीता समं नास्ति सत्यं सत्यं वदामि एको देव एक धर्मः एकमीश्वरं तपः गुरुपरतरं नान्यं नास्ति धर्मं गुरोपरम् मातधन्या पिता धन्यो धन्यो वंशाकुलं च धन्या च वसुधा देवी गुरुभक्तिः सुदुर्लभा शरीरमेन्द्रियं प्राणं सर्वस्वजानबन्धवः माता पिता कुलदेवी गुरुरेव संशयः अकल्पजन्मनाकोऽप्य जपव्रतातपाम्यः तत्सर्वं सफलं देवी गुरुसन्तोषमातृता निर्यथाको बलेनेव मन्दभाग्यास्ते नरः गुरुसेवां न कुर्वन्ति सत्यं वरानने देवर्षि पितृपितरः सुखचरण यक्षाश्च अनेके मुनयो जनाः गुरुभावपरं तीर्थम् अन्यतीर्थं निरर्थकम् सर्वतीर्थाश्रयो देवी भारतपुष्पं प्रवर्तते जयमङ्गलते चरणकसारमाप्नुयात् हीनकर्मजं सर्वं जानने च रमाणि च सफलमेनाशनं पूर्णं हीनकर्माफलप्रदं गुरुकृपं प्रयाणेव सङ्ग्रहेण पुष्पं स्वामी मुख्या गणेशानि विष्णवरेणं च पार्वती मनसत्मेरवक्तव्या सत्यं सत्यं वदाम्यहम् अतीवाक्पचिताय श्रद्धभक्तियुताय च प्रवचाम्यपि नव देवी ममासि सदा प्रिये
Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsara Harine Bhakta Kaye Kadehaya Namaste Chitsaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsara Harine Bhakta Kaye Kadehaya Namaste Chittadanmane Om Sana Bhavatu Sana Bhunatu Saviyam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to Satsang here at Shanti Mandir on the 4th of July. And welcome to all of you watching from at home or wherever you might be. So this is 4th of July, Independence Day. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the desire for liberation. Because the desire for liberation gave rise to liberation for this country as much as it is liberated, but it was freed from the rule from a foreign power. And so it's a day for celebrating that. And it's not the day that the British were overcome or defeated, but it's the day in which the Declaration was passed by Congress, by the 13 states of the Union. So it's really a celebration of that declaration of independence, that desire to be free. We saw fireworks last night, lots of colors through the window, some loud noises, and it is a day for celebration when we think of our own liberation, our own desire for liberation. We might not be there yet, but we can still raise the flag of a liberation because we're on our way. We've taken a step in that direction. We've understood that there's a need to be liberated in the first place. So it's a wonderful thing to delve into the desire for liberation, which is called mumukshutva. The Shiva Sutras say Chaitanyam Atma, the self is consciousness. And when they say that, when the Shiva Sutras say that, it means that the universe is full of consciousness. So it is alive with consciousness, awareness, and bliss. And that's the reason that we attain enjoyment in our lives. That's the reason that we see the life and the death and the whole cycle is all within this consciousness, Chaitanya Atma. And also the individual soul is Atman, is Chaitanya. The individual is Chaitanya. So this is the principle that is presented in all the yogic scriptures, that within us there is perfection. But there's not awareness necessarily of perfection because of the continuous activity of the mind, which we know so well. So we could kind of be quite the mind with the British. We're overcome by a foreign power, as it were. And so the mind is tormenting us, making us depressed, unhappy, disappointed, happy, ecstatic, down in the dumps, back and forth. It's full of agitation. It's like a monkey going here and there. And only in deep sleep, for most people, do they find peace. And sometimes people have difficulty even getting into deep sleep. So that rest that takes place when they go into that space that's very, very close to that Atman, that Chaitanyam Atman, is deprived from us. So there comes a point in our lives when we say, I have to do something about this mind. It's a tyrant. It's disturbing me so much. And so that desire for liberation is considered a real landmark day or landmark moment in a person's life when they begin to have this urge for freedom, this self-inquiry. Who am I? What am I doing here? What should I do here? The Declaration of Independence itself is an amazing document. It's beautifully articulated, and it is based on some very, very broad and beautiful principles. So the idea was that the governors, the wise people in this country, decided enough was enough, and so they declared independence. They put together this document. It was mostly written by Thomas Jefferson, and it enumerates some wonderful dharmic principles that formed the seed for the country that ensued once they achieved independence. So these principles are very yogic in nature and very profound. The document begins, it says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds, and I'm not getting political here, it's a dangerous thing these days, which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. The idea is that everyone should be free, that there's inherent freedom that is entitled to everyone as a human being, and that each nation should be free. And these rights are entitled by laws of nature and nature's God. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes of which impel them to separation. So here you're seeing that is a careful delineation of the reasons for wanting liberation. He continues and says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Now that's interesting as well, because when we think of yoga, we see that the truth is really self-evident as soon as we begin to turn within. We see that the fact is, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my senses, I'm not anything that can be named, I'm not my role, I'm not any of these things, I'm the witness of the mind. If only the mind is able to turn within, we have our own personal and very private revolution. A change of power. The inherent power that is our real nature assumes power. So pledging allegiance to that is what we do when we meditate. We turn within, we honor that. As much as we can feel it, as much as we can be aware of it, as Baba said, we go within, we watch the breath, we try to see the space between the breath, the space between thoughts. Because that Atman is present everywhere. If only the mind can become still in any given moment, the teaching is, in that stillness of mind, we rest in our own essential nature. It's not that we're seeing it, because it's not seeable. It is the seer itself. It's awareness, and that awareness is bliss. This is the teaching. So this is inherently free. It's our own true nature, and it is free to us, if only we desire to access it. And that desire to access it is called mumukshutva, the desire for liberation, which is considered one of the three most rare things in the world. And rare means invaluable, precious. The three things are human birth. The second is this desire for liberation, mumukshutva. The third is the company of a sage who can introduce us to this knowledge, help us turn within to know ourselves. So it's quite simple, but it starts with this second most valuable entity or principle or property, characteristic, mumukshutva. And the sutra from Aparoksha Anubhuti by Shankaracharya says that all three of these are due to grace. And what that means is that it's not of the ego, it's not of the individual, it doesn't belong to me as an individual, it's much broader than that. It's part of my inherent nature that I should want to be free. This mumukshutva comes from within and manifests in my life almost as a disturbance. It says, we have to do something. So no, I don't want to do anything. It's just, it kind of agitates, and it makes us want to give things up, run away. It turns everything upside down. But the simple fact is, as soon as we begin to contemplate in this way, and we can all think back of when we first had this desire for liberation, or noticed it, let's say, and what a profound effect it has on a person's life. And it may seem like a crisis that we just would rather get over, internal turmoil, but it is a point of great importance. So it's like the point at which the revolutionaries found themselves, where they are in this place of great angst. The British are ruling, and many people didn't want to, become independent country. They were comfortable with it as they were. So it wasn't like everybody said, yeah, let's do this. There were some brave souls, and some said they were fools that took this on and wrote this document, and history is what it is. But the point is this desire for liberation, and it is the seed of liberation itself. It is the right of the people to alter or to abolish any form of government which is destructive to these ends, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So it's quite simple and beautiful in the way that it's saying a government should protect the safety of individuals and promote their happiness. Basically, be a shepherd, be a support for the people. Be very wise. We pray for very wise leadership in the country. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. If this wasn't really serious, and in our own case, if it wasn't really serious that we are in a state of bondage, the yoga scriptures say this is really just a state of bondage because we are not aware of our true nature. And so we are identified with the body and the mind and not the self. And consequently, there's suffering. There's the poison of samsara, and we're transmigrating from birth to birth. And once we begin to, teaching is once we begin to turn within and know our true self, there's freedom. And it's not just an escape, but it's a freedom that pervades everything that we do. The Guru Gita says we are given bhukti and mukti. Enjoyment of our life is improved because the mind is sharper, the intellect is more agile, the heart is open. There's an understanding that this principle Chaitanya is in everything. So the fact that we strive for mukti or liberation, mumukshutva, is a seed of that, provides us access to bhukti, enjoyment, which is like, that's a great deal. It gives us the moments of great bliss internally. Once we learn to meditate and use the mantra given by the Guru and access it as much as possible. it also improves the state of the mind so that it's able to govern itself in the proper way. And the ego and the senses are no longer in charge. The horses aren't running amok, the carriage isn't running off the road, going after this and going after that. We are in a stable, even state, and we live our life knowing what we know, and we're equipped to have bhukti and mukti, enjoyment of the principles that he's talking about here, safety and happiness, living with our families, living out our life, and even at the end of our lives, remembering this principle, and living in peace, being able to sleep and experience the states of consciousness of waking, dream, and deep sleep state, and understanding those states, understanding our body, understanding our senses, living as a conscious being. Accordingly, experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. That's interesting, right? I mean, you didn't think this was such a spiritual document. I'll read that again. It's shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable. So we have the capacity to suffer, to endure, if the cause is just. And sometimes we'd rather suffer than go through a change. Then to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So it's a drastic move to turn within instead of just always going the way of society. We take a different course. We purify our lives. We make changes. We give up things. Spontaneously, things are given up. And this change all comes from this mumukshutva, this desire for liberation, because with it comes viveka, vairagya, evenness of mind, endurance, devotion, faith, qualities with that mumukshutva, that desire for liberation. These other qualities that Shankaracharya calls the 6 virtues that are treasures. These are qualities of mind of a developed yogi, no matter what the tradition is, that we have the capacity to think properly and to discriminate. Because the most important quality, as Shankaracharya says, is discrimination. Viveka and Vairagya. So we have detachment. And he's talking about here, we have to detach ourselves because they're detaching themselves from the British. We detach ourselves from the mind. I'm not my mind. What my mind tells me may not be true, may not be accurate, may not be good advice. These are not good principles. I need to really see for myself what is true and what is right and what is good. And I do that by listening to my guru's teachings, because when we have that third quality, the company of a great being, then we have the wisdom of the sages directly with us. And we have the mantra which purifies the mind and gives us this kind of right understanding. So we develop these qualities, these inner treasures, shad sampat. So it's in that way, it says it's more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable. But we come to the conclusion that a change must take place. And whenever we had that initial change take place, we know that's an important point. When that inquiry began is a day of celebration, even if we don't know exactly when that was. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, and evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty. It is our right and duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. So this is the plight of the revolutionaries, and apparently the one story which I hope it's okay for me to say this, the political situation we have these days. But apparently a few days after this was written and ratified, it was out, and George Washington read a copy of it. I think it was in Philadelphia. And there was such a celebration. They took down the statue of King George, and they melted the statue down and made it cannonballs for the ship. So in a way, we melt down all of our negativity, and it becomes fuel for yoga, because we wonder what to do with all these feelings, all these emotions. It's like we'll just dissolve them, we'll just digest them, because it's all part of me. So this whole process is quite something. It all comes down to stilling the mind. So the revolution that we begin is quite simple. It's really just turning within, just becoming quiet. And in that quietness, when the mind is still, Patanjali says, Tada drastuhu swarupe avastanam. One rests in one's essential nature. So we can learn to do that, and do that as a regular practice, then the life is transformed. A revolution is taking place. These three rare things are due to the grace of God: a human birth, longing for liberation, and the protecting care of a perfect sage. They are God-given. They're due to grace. It's good to remember that, in the sense that I'm doing something can be given up to. All this is a function of grace. All this unfoldment of yoga within us is a function of grace. There is a sense of grace happening within one. When we go within, we see there's just this pulsation of energy. And there's a sense of protection. It says the protection of a perfected sage. And this protection is a sense of the energy that's awakened within us, is equivalent with the Guru. Guruva Parameshwari Anugrahika Shaktihi. So this is about the Guru Gita. We've been studying the Guru Gita, and this is what this is about. And the truth is, the scriptures say the Guru is really the grace-bestowing power of God. Guru is an individual, but he or she is also this grace-bestowing power. So that affords us protection and sustenance and guidance on the path, which is what the Guru Gita is all about, the song of the Guru. The other day, Jackie and I, a number of times, Jackie and I have walked back in the field and up in the area that's practical philosophy. If any of you walked up there, there's a nice road that you go down the rail trail, up the turn and around. You just see the big house up there, which was the Borden house, where Mr. Borden lived for many years and had this property. And as Gurudev said, he wanted this property here to be a retreat where people could come from the city and get solace and rest. Anyway, we were walking up this path, and one day last year, we noticed this huge structure way up in the tree, a big pine tree. I mean, it's massive. And we could only deduce that it had to be the nest of some huge bird. And then later we began to see the eagle. Now I just noticed as I was, before we started this, I realized that it's a bald eagle. So the symbol for the United States is the eagle. Anyway, that made me chuckle. So we see this, we look up and we see there's a figure of a bird, this huge bird up in the tree. And so he or she is there and moving around and looking down at us. And, we went there a couple of times last year. And this year we went about a month ago. And I don't know what's happened since then. But we saw up in the tree, we saw this. We didn't see the big bird, but we saw a small bird. And it wasn't small, it's about this big. It didn't have the white head, it wasn't a bald eagle. You know, it didn't look like a bald eagle yet. It was a brown bird, but Jackie said, that's the baby. So the baby is sitting up there, just perched there completely still, looking at us once in a while, but waiting, presumably, for mama or daddy to feed him. So he's getting protection and food. And this is what we get from being involved in a lineage, no matter what it is. That's the idea of it. There's an umbrella. Ashraya is the Sanskrit word. We're under this umbrella, and within a lineage, and we're given the mantra, which is mantra shakti, which is the sustaining power in all this, and scriptural understanding, and the practice to meditate. So the purpose is to cure the disease of worldliness, to overcome the fact that things are upside down before this awakening occurs, because one is not aware of their true nature. In the Guru Gita, Parvati asked Lord Shiva, and this is the two aspects of the divine creative principle. Maybe it's metaphorical, maybe it's actual, but we could say it's metaphorical, that the male principle is being asked by the female principle, Kinna Margina Bo Swami Dehi Brahma Mayo Bhavet. Oh Lord, how can an individual who's a Dehi, means one who's identified with the body, which is us folks, probably, identified with the body, having a role, having a life, having a family, having thoughts, having feelings, but identified with just that, unaware of our true nature. How can that individual know their identity as Brahman, as the supreme principle? So then he says, go to see the Guru, go there. And so what occurs to me is that Parvati, the Shakti, the female principle, is like the proxy for us. That she's asking that question on the behalf of a person, of an individual that has this mumukshutva, has this desire for liberation. Because without that, there's no interest. So it's only for that portion of the population that has realized freedom is necessary. We have to throw off the bonds of the tyranny of the mind and the ego and the senses, and correct this situation and no longer be identified with the body. So she's asking on behalf of those mumukshuttvas, how is this possible? And he enumerates the ways, and he says, meditate on the Guru principle, meditate on one's divine nature. In every way possible, absorb yourself in that principle. So it's a good thing, we can think of what is this urge? What is mumukshutva? What is the desire for liberation? Do we feel it? I would guess that we all feel that. We wouldn't be interested in yoga and meditation. We wouldn't have been meditating for years like many of us have. When did we first feel it? What is it? Is it devotion? How strong is it? The sutra says that if you have a weak or medium mumukshutva, like the desire is strong, or it's not very strong, or quite weak, then there can be wavering. And then we can be like one of the people didn't want to sign the Declaration of Independence. I'm not signing that. I like the British, it's like that. I like my mind. But there's sort of an irony there that they give up something, but as the Guru Gita says, bhukti and mukti, they're both possible. But if you put all of your attention into bhukti or pleasure and outward, the mind is always outward, you're missing out on the most important thing of all, the source of it all. So this weak, if the mumukshutva is weak, then you're kind of in a limbo land. So we want to strengthen it. If it's weak or moderate, Shankaracharya says it can be strengthened in the presence of the great sage, in the company of other seekers, and by developing those qualities that we mentioned, particularly viveka and vairagya, to be able to discriminate right from wrong, me from not me, to always understand who I am, or at least have the mind moving in that direction. So it's mumukshutva, this desire for liberation. There was a moment in my life I can think back and see when did I first have a sense of self-inquiry. And it was only, must have been, don't know the age, but 5 years old maybe. My twin brother and I used to sleep in the same bed. My younger brother was sleeping on the bed over there, so it was a crowd. But we all slept well, and before going to sleep, I was taught a prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. So this is a conversation with my Lord. You know, you're 5 years old. But the prayer went, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. So I repeated this. Anybody else know this prayer? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I like all of you, I read this, I didn't read it, I memorized it, and for a long time I had no idea what it meant. I was just saying words. And then when I was about 5 or 6, I started to think about it as I'm going to sleep. I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. What are those words? One is keep and the other is take. Okay. So I'm this little kid there, just about to go to sleep. I think, first of all, I have a soul. Then, I want to keep my soul. I want to keep my soul. And then, but if I should die, wait, I'm going to die? There's all these profound concepts that are thrown at a little kid and you're just memorizing it. But it's like a mantra that I'm repeating every night. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Wait, where's my soul going to go? The Lord's going to take my soul. So I had to make peace with this notion. Like, my soul is going to the Lord. But so it's like all these principles are there. Sleep, the Lord, my soul, keeping my soul. It's like it was something precious. My soul must be something precious. If I should die before, why would that happen? Why should I die before I wake? Oh, I guess it could happen. And I'm laying there with my brother in the bed, and it's like, okay, anything could happen. And then I pray the Lord, if that were to happen, then, oh Lord, go ahead, take my soul. I like to go with, I guess I realized that the idea must be, I go with the Lord, with my soul. So it's this kind of an awakening, really, that it dawned on me, this has so much meaning. And it's something I contemplated, and then, of course, you let these things go. But then, begin studying yoga and think about these things. And it's that initial desire, which is the seed for the whole process. And that's important to develop and to have mature and ripen. And as it ripens, it's like creates a revolution. Because remember, it's one of those qualities that is given by grace. It's not from the mind. It's something much deeper. It's something more universal. So when that principle shows up and breaks through the mind, because it's there, then it's an important day. It's a day for celebration. The day for fireworks. So that whole idea of liberation, desire for liberation, the parallel on this day is very important. Baba was asked in an interview let's see, what is it? Conversations with the Siddha. Joel Harris interviewed Baba, and he's the author or the publisher of a magazine called Movement Magazine, and this was in Los Angeles in the 70s. He said, you began your spiritual search when you were 15. This is Baba's Mumukshutwa. Baba said, the inspiration arose from inside. I was very fond of watching historical and religious plays. And around the age of 11 or 12, I also acted in them. I happened to see one very great play about two child devotees, Prahlada and Dhruva. The theme of the play was that these two children, though very, very young, meditated and practiced austerities and realized God. And that sank into my heart. Furthermore, my mother was a deeply religious woman. And right from my early childhood, she had given me religious training. All these factors combined to produce in me an intense longing to see the kingdom of God. So this is Baba's Mumukshutva, and we know it was extremely strong. And the Mumukshutva, the desire for liberation, and in the sages that we're familiar with, like Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, Muktananda, Shivananda, Ram Tirth, Tukaram, Jnaneshwar, that desire was so strong that it took like nothing for the realization of their true nature to occur. Furthermore, my mother was a deeply religious woman, and right from my early childhood, she had given me religious training. All these factors combined to produce an intense longing. It was tivra mumukshutva, tivra, like intense, to see the kingdom of God. So I left my home and wandered around India. And then after a long, long time, because he walked the width and breadth of India on foot, searching, meditating, staying at ashrams, and doing practices and reading and studying with different teachers. He said, I met my guru, Swami Nityananda. He was a very great siddha. Shankaracharya says, Mumukshutva is the impatient and burning desire to release oneself by the real nature of oneself from all bondages of egoism to the body, which are bondages created by ignorance. So after the revolution, the Declaration of Independence was signed, ratified. They made copies of it, sent it around, and everybody, all the states got behind it, and they went to battle. They took a stand. And that took courage, and it wasn't just the declaring freedom, as Shankaracharya says in the Vivekachudamani. It's not enough to know there's a treasure in the ground. You have to get the tools to dig. You have to know where it's buried. You have to dig, remove the earth that's covering the box. You have to, and as the shovel hits the trunk that contains the treasure, you hear the noise. It's close. Excitement is, you get really excited. And finally, he said you have to take the blocks out of the ground and open it, and then the treasure is yours. So just the fact that they declared independence wasn't enough. They had to fight the battle. So in the same way, having mumukshutva isn't enough. We have to do practices and access the advice and the protection of a sage and practice probably for a long time, with devotion, without interruption. And then that sense of the true self becomes firm and very much immediately aware in our awareness. I am that. I am free. And even if we don't have complete realization of our true nature, we know what we are. We know we are the self. We know that we are that Chaitanya. If someone asks you who you are, you might slip and say, well, I'm Dana. But in one's heart, you know what your true nature is. And at that point, you've reached a milestone, and you can, as the revolutionaries did, they raised a flag. They designed a flag. And we know a flag is a symbol. And a flag means it's a symbol of a place, and it's a symbol of a country. It's a symbol of the spirit of that place. It's a symbol of desire for liberation in this country. And the principles that were enumerated in the Declaration of Independence are symbolized by that flag. So when they raised that flag, the blue stripes and the stars, that's what it was. And we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll spare you the Pledge of Allegiance. What, except for indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. So this is the idea of mumukshutva. This is what we're looking for. So, Jnanadev saying things about a flag. And he says, Maze jivichi avadi, Maje jivichi avadi, Pandarapura neina gudi, Pandarapura neina gudi, Pandurana rangare, Pandarangi mana rangare, Govindache gunivedade, Govindache gunivedade, Pandurangi mana rangare, Jagrati swapna shashupti natave, Pahata rupa anandi satave, Pahata rupa anandi satave, Pandurangi mana rangare. Jnaneshwar says, I wish, my heart's desire, he says, because Jnaneshwar is a realized being, a great sage, one of those sages that's himself is like an emblem for liberation and for grace and wisdom, his highest wisdom. He says, my heart's desire is to take the flag to Pandharpur. So we see the image of this 21-year-old Jnaneshwar Maharaj taking a flag. And you know this is an internal image he has for himself, because his mind has become this flag. And his mind is carrying the flag of the Atma, the Chaitanya Atma. So we have this kind of idea of celebration, just as the revolutionary founding fathers did that. We can raise the flag of our own liberation. He says, my mind is absorbed in that principle, in Panduranga. My mind is colored by that. Panduranga mani rangale. So the mind is continually exposed or drenched in that supreme principle through meditation. And my desire is to praise that principle, to think of it all the time. Even in the waking, dream, and deep sleep state, that principle exists. So that's the result of this desire for liberation, this mumukshutva. And that's what this liberation is what we celebrate today. And so, happy Independence Day to all of us. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. So now we will chant Sri Ram Jai Ram, and then we can meditate for 5 or 10 minutes. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.
Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. So this concludes our 4th of July Sunday morning satsang. Thank you all for your presence here. It's wonderful to see everybody, and we wish all of you a wonderful July 4th celebration, and continue to enjoy your afternoon and evening, whatever's left of it. The most important announcement that I have is Gurudev's visit. So everybody please make sure to mark your calendars. So August 18th, he will arrive here to the ashram. And on the 20th, which is a Friday, we will have a music concert by our own Steve Gorn here in the Hudson Valley with the flute, along with Vivek Pandya on tabla. And then on the weekend, we have our welcome program for Gurudev at the Sunday morning satsang on the 22nd. Okay, so that Sunday morning satsang, the 22nd, that will be his welcome and arrival program. So everybody please make sure to join us for that. And then all of the Sundays thereafter. He'll be in residence until December 14th. So we have a whole variety of programs that will take place, and satsangs and activities through the entire fall. So make sure you try to open up your schedules and your time so that you can spend time in his presence. We're very excited to have him here for that length of time. July 23rd, 24th, and 25th is Guru Purnima. So we'll be celebrating that here at the ashram. On the Friday is the full moon, so that's July 23rd. So our intensive in-person for everybody locally and who is able to be here will be on that Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then on the Saturday, we'll have another music concert, which will be tabla and sitar. So that'll be on the Saturday evening. And then on Sunday morning satsang, we'll be having a Paduka Puja, Guru Puja with Prabal Mishra, and that will be available to everybody also globally. So we have a wonderful weekend, the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th. I know many of you have booked in for that weekend. Please make sure to let Niteshwari know in reception if you wish to join us for any overnight accommodations, but everyone is welcome. Also, everybody can know that we now have our granola back in stock in the gift shop, so for anybody who wants any homemade granola, you can pick that up. We've had a few people coming and taking their stock, so please feel free to do that. And just a wonderful thank you to the community for all of the lovely dishes that you've brought today for the potluck picnic in honor of July 4th, Independence Day. So thank you all for your presence again. Everybody's invited to come up for darshan, and I believe we have the picnic set up inside the serving tables just because of the weather being a little here and there. But everybody's welcome to sit anywhere. The courtyard is there, inside is here, the outdoor tables, the pavilion, anywhere that you wish to find a seat. So thank you all. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai.